Number 2 for ease of doing business. Number 1 for innovation. Number 1 for safest country. Number 1 for good government. Number 3 for least corrupt. Number 1 for most powerful passport. Number 1 for best education system. Number 1 for best airport. Number 2 for public transport. Number 3. Number 5 for smart cities. We have been described as the economic miracle in modern times. You know how many countries and presidents and prime ministers have said publicly that they want to be the next Singapore? Let me try to start by telling you what, in my opinion, is the most significant aspect of the economic model that has made Singapore so successful. And let me cite another country as an example. I'm going to take the UK as an example. You know, when election comes, you want to win votes, what do? You promise benefits, right? Then when you win, right, you don't give more benefits, you got to increase taxes, right? Then cannot. Then what do? You try to cut some benefits, even worse. And so at the end of the day, in many countries today, UK, France, etc., you keep getting higher budget deficits and higher external public debt. It's like a never-ending problem. That's why the UK keep changing prime ministers because of this problem. What is so unique about the Singapore economic model is that our fiscal policy model is conceptually similar to the Islamic finance concept of the sharing economy. What is the sharing, by the way? Any Muslims here? Oh, okay. What is the sharing economy in Islamic finance? Simply, briefly put, it means sharing the benefits and the risks. So, in the terms of Singapore fiscal model, is sharing between the state and the people. And that, in my opinion, is arguably the greatest factor that made us what we are today. You know, last year we had a budget surplus of $15.1 billion. Singapore, on the average, every 4 out of 5 years has a budget surplus. And we have one of the lowest external public debts in the world. So how did we do that? Give you one example first. Most talked about topic in Singapore today, HDB. Every city or country in the world has a public housing problem. Why? Because every public flat they build costs money. Now the Singapore model is unique. Every public flat the state builds, it does not have to spend a lot of money. How does that work? If you can afford to and you want to, you can buy a bigger flat in the most popular area in Commonwealth or Toa Payoh, and you pay much higher prices. The excess cash flows are then utilized to enable the very poor, the very low income, to have public housing as well at very, very low prices. I'll give you an example. If your household income is below $1,500, the maximum housing grant is $120,000. So you buy a 2-room flexi flat in a not so popular area, say about $130,000, if you qualify, you're eligible for the 120,000 maximum grant, you're paying $10,000 for 130,000 flat. Now, all the people in Function 8, they don't qualify, right? Because they don't meet this income criteria. So for most of them, if they buy the same flat, if they're not eligible for any grant, they pay 130,000. So if you're poor, low income, you pay 10,000 for the same flat. These fellas who are, I wouldn't say rich lah, not so poor lah, okay? Right? They pay 130,000 for the same flat. So, what is the outcome? Singapore has won a UN Habitat Award for being one of the best public housing systems in the world. More than 80% of the population lives in public housing. And of this 80%, more than 90% own their own flats, which historically has been increasing about 5% per annum on average in value. Now, if for any reason people don't want or cannot afford to buy a HDB flat in Singapore, you know they can rent a HDB flat from HDB from as little as $26 a month. And mind you, $26 a month to rent a public flat in the most expensive city in the world, according to the Economist ranking. This is the marvel, right, of Singapore's public housing system. Bottom line, the state does not need to spend a lot of money to provide public housing. It is, in a sense, shared by the rich people from it and Kuku. Next example. My examples are primarily on the provision of public goods and services. CPF, pension. CPF is your own money. You contribute a percentage of your income to your own CPF account. So, does it cost the state any money? A bit lah. Because under the Silver Support Scheme and the Medisave top-up and what have you, they do top up a bit, or not a bit lah, actually it's quite a lot, nah? $100 million here and there. But, if you ask, okay, all this money we put in CPF, then the state takes it to invest through GIC. What is the annualized return that GIC gets on the average? The answer is nobody knows, right? Because the reports normally refer to like last 20-year or 10-year real return in US dollar term and so on. But people have estimated that it's probably around 6% per annum. So your ordinary account pays 2.5, your Medisave retirement and no more special account nowadays, okay, for those who are over 55, pay you 4% or 5% on the first 60,000 or another 6% on the first 30,000 after 55. So you put all this together, people estimate the weighted average return that people are getting on CPF interest probably a 3.8. So you take 6 and you minus 3.8, you get roughly about 2.2%, right? There are over $600 billion in CPF today. How much is 2.2% of $600 billion? 10 billion a year. Now, over the decades, you compound this money, right, because it earns returns. It may be a few $100 billion today. So now you can see the magic of the Singapore fiscal policy model. It does not cost the state a lot of money. So if it does not cost the state a lot of money, the state has a lot of other money to do infrastructure development, social development, compete internationally, and so on and so forth. Next, please. Healthcare. In the Obama healthcare debate, the Singapore healthcare system was heavily debated. It's also described as one of the best healthcare systems in the world. Why? It has been called the most sustainable healthcare system in the world because you will never run out of money. In most countries today, right, the developed countries especially, this is one of their biggest problems, right? The expenditure of healthcare keep going up and the state hasn't got the money. They either borrow or they end up with deficits or they, like in the UK, your NHS, National Health System, so many complaints. Quality has dropped, waiting time is higher, etc., etc., etc. So what is so unique about the Singapore model? Who is the oldest person here other than me? I'm 72. Anyone more than 72, raise your hand. I know somebody who's older than 72. I'm not going to point her out. Oh, sorry. How is that? Oh, 73. Congratulations. You win the oldest audience award for today. Can you bring one of the buns for him? Thank you very much. So, sir, if you go to a public hospital, right, you can choose. You want a room to yourself, 2 to a room, 4 to a room, 6 to a room. Which room would you like to have? 2 to a room. Okay. So, similar to public housing, those who can afford and want to is paying more so that the excess cash flows can be utilized to provide almost quality universal healthcare and practically free healthcare if you are really very, very, very poor. If you are eligible to apply for Medifund because you cannot pay and you go to Class C, right, it's almost as good as free. So we have a healthcare system where you don't have to worry if you fall sick, provided you go to Class C. And of course you qualify because you are low income and the funny thing is that in a few years ago, they changed the criteria to assess your eligibility. In the past, it was based on the income of the patient. Now it's based on the income per capita of the household, which my volunteers and I, we've been doing financial counseling pro bono for like 20 years. So we come across some very strange cases. People will come and say, in the past, I get maximum subsidy, Class C, 80%, because I have no income. Now, because I stay in a house, that one of the person has very high income, so I end up having also. Now, of course, if you're on very good terms with this high income person in the same house, it's fine, right? If not, you're serious problem. I have one case, very funny. This family was so nice. Who's going to pay for the so much higher medical cost of this lady? She's not even a member of the family. Anyway, whenever policy change, some people are better off, some people may be. But bottom line is, we have one of the most admired healthcare systems, most sustainable, If you are very poor, low income, you don't have to worry, as good as free. And of course, if you have the money and you like to, you can have two to a room, or one to a room, or four to a room. And on top of that, you can choose your doctor. If you are in the lower class ward and treatment, the computer will assign a doctor for you. You cannot choose, it's random. You get priority for tests. Right? If you're on the less people in the room, oh, I need to have some tests. Next week can do already. But if you lower, maybe have to wait 2, 3, or 4 weeks. Now, of course, if it's emergency, everybody gets the same treatment. But you see the beauty of the system, whether it's public health, money to, as I showed you, it's like the country with the most top rankings in the world today. Let's pause for a few moments. So, what is the outcome today? Let's look at some statistics. 2015 to 2025 estimate transfers to special trust and endowment funds 165.8 billion. You know, it's transferred to trust and endowment funds. The state announced we're going to have pioneer generation, we're going to have Merdeka generation, right? So it costs how many billions? They transfer the money out into a fund and it's charged off in the budget accounting as an expenditure in 1 year. Now, other IMF fiscal reporting guidelines, you're not supposed to do that. You cannot charge off the next 10 years expense as an expenditure in 1 year. So if you look at the cash flows, look at the accounting guidelines, not just the 15.1 billion surplus we had last year. Last year we had more than 20 billion of transfer to trust and endowment funds. So in a sense, we are actually, we are also the highest per capita surplus country in the world today. What does this mean for ordinary citizens? Well, don't you think the state could have spent more money to help those people who arguably need more of it? Well, this is the never-ending debate. What is the balance? How much do you keep for a rainy day? How much do you use today? Who are we keeping all this money for? So, let's look at the economic miracle. Only 744 square kilometers, 6.11 population, and yet our direct investment abroad, just by the corporate sector, is $1 just counting Temasek, GIC, and the official foreign reserves. Haven't even count the other assets of the state. We are the richest. We are the richest country in the world, not just per capita, but the whole country in terms of its assets. You watch the movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like all things, there are pros and cons. Right? What is the price of economic success? Let's look at some of them. Do you know in the latest ranking, we're the most tired, fatigued nation in the world? Do you know in the latest ranking, we are the most depressed nation in Asia? Of course, we're the most expensive city in the world. In the fairly old ranking, which they don't do anymore, we were ranked 144 for the most emotionless people in the world. Actually, I wonder what is emotionless. Okay, whatever lah. Okay. We are actually now the third lowest total fertility rate in the world. And of course, in Singapore, it's already a record low. Let me pause a while at this point and make a suggestion how to increase the birth rate. Okay? It's all in the numbers. Let me explain. The procreation tax benefits given to high-income mothers, the last time that it was disclosed in total was more than the total non-tax procreation benefits given to mothers with no income or low income. Because as a high-income mother, you can get up to a cap of $80,000 of your tax payable in a year. This is not a deduction of your income. It's offset against the tax payable. Previously, there was no cap. So if you earn $50 million, you're looking at like $10 million of tax offset. So the solution, in my humble opinion, is if you're like most of the other developed countries, you pay the same amount to every mother, whether he's high income, low income, no income. I think the birth rate will go up, right? Because we estimate if you do that, a no income or low income mother will probably get double what they are getting today when they have children. And the problem, anecdotally, is that rich mothers, no matter how much you pay them, for whatever reason, they don't produce more. Now, more people have asked, this one like common sense, right? It's so simple numbers, right? Why do we still have this policy? So I asked my friends in the state. The very old ones are able to give me the answer. The answer is, because way back, many years ago, we were so focused on economic development that the objective is to have as many high-income women to continue in the workforce as possible. Because if they don't have income, then economically the GDP will fall, the government will have less, the state has less people who can work, intelligent people, high-income people. And so this is a sacred cow that I hope perhaps someday we will slaughter. If not, very interesting statistic, I tell you. What percentage of ladies in Singapore do you think don't get married? Now you look like someone who's not married, right? Why you laugh? Yes? Okay, yeah. So, you want to guess what percentage of ladies in Singapore don't get married? Wow, on the dot, it's more than 50%. Another bun for the correct answer, please. Now, the next one is a bit difficult. What percentage of Singaporean men marry foreign women? I asked Ivan. Because Ivan cannot get married. Ivan, make a guess. What percentage of Singaporean men marry foreign women?
30%.
40%. Excuse me, Ivan Tanning Hong is the most famous Singaporean in the world, you know. Every time I speak at a human rights conference, I mention Ivan Tanning Hong and say, wow, this guy is the greatest. I cannot tell you why he's the greatest, but for those of you who know, this guy is really famous. Okay? So let's get back to the price of the economic miracle. In the very old ranking, second least likely to help a stranger. consistently ranked among the longest working hours in the world. By the way, the recent survey I saw, our teachers have the longest working hours in the world, no? Right? No wonder they are so stressed, right? Every other week you read in the news, have some, what kind of scandal, right? In the school. Yeah. 73% of employees are unhappy and 62% feel burned out. 2 in 5 report waking up tired every day. The price of the economic miracle. So I think we need to balance the miracle with the nightmare. I'm going to show you a very interesting ranking. Singapore was ranked as the second lowest for libido.
Oh my God, what the hell?
Excuse me, lady, why do you shout, oh my God?
I didn't know it was that low.
You didn't know it's that low. Yeah, actually nobody knows, right? But this is global study ranking, okay? So it looks like a very bad ranking, right? No. A very good ranking. I tell you why. How do you measure the lady who said, oh my gosh, right? How do you think they measured this libido ranking? What do they do?
They probably like survey married couples and ask them how often they have sex.
Wow, spot on. They ask people, how often you do, how you rate your performance, how your partner rate your performance, you are 72 can still do or not. And so, Singaporeans are very honest people. They tell the truth. That's why the ranking is so low. But it's a very good ranking because if you go to a country to do business, to invest, to work as a tourist, to study, you love a country where the people are very honest, right? So it's a very good ranking. It's not a bad one. Let me talk a bit about education. Now, the state spends a lot of money on education. But actually, they probably would have to spend much more if not for the tuition loan scheme. Most of the students in the universities today, the public one, are on the tuition loan scheme. Why? Because no interest. When you graduate, then they start counting the interest, give you 10 years to pay. So, my friend say, it's stupid not to take a loan, right? Because no interest, right? And so if you look at the numbers, which we don't really have, but we anecdotally we guess, most of the students are on tuition loan because it's free money. Now, if most of the students are on a tuition loan, then you compare to countries like France or UK, then what is the big difference? These countries are paying a lot of money for the tuition to subsidize their university students. For us, most of the students actually borrowing from the bank. Right? So same thing, like public housing, healthcare, pensions, in a sense, it's like a sharing economy concept. The people sharing with the state, in this case, the students and their parents sharing the state. So if the state does not need to spend as much on education as would otherwise have to compared to other countries, they have more money to do wonders. Okay? Actually, the most important thing is not the past, it's not the present, it's the future. So let me talk a bit about the future. We have many challenges today, which I will attempt to show you some statistics. But going forward, it is going to be very challenging. And I just show you one aspect of the challenge. The last time I heard Ting Tong when I spoke somewhere, some people came and said, you have to stop, you know. Okay, never mind. What happened to the other slide? Oh, sorry. At 72, the most important slide that I was supposed to show you has disappeared. But never mind, I can remember, so I tell you. This is the most important statistic in my view today that affects many, many Singaporeans. In the last 4.5 years, we had job growth of 400,000, of which is estimated that 87% went to foreigners. So you have 13% of the 400,000 job growth went to residents. Residents includes PRs, who are also not Singaporeans. So if you take out the PRs, how many of the estimated 13% are Singaporeans? Singaporeans also include new citizens. Every year, we grant more than 20,000 new citizens. In 10 years, it's 200,000. Going back in history, as far as we can, 400,000 new citizens. So, 87% to foreigners. If we take out the PRs, we take out the new citizens, what percentage of the 400,000 job growth in the last 4.5 years went to native-born Singaporeans? Nobody knows. But now, you just ask AI. So ask AI. Oh yeah, AI says, yeah. We estimate. Who want to guess what is AI's answer of the 400,000 job growth? What is the estimated percentage that went to native-born Singaporeans? Anyone? You brush your hair. So that means you probably have an answer. Just give me a number. What percentage of the 100% do you think the AI estimate went to native-born Singaporeans?
Probably higher.
Huh? Okay. Okay, you have 87% of foreigner, right? You left 13, right? The 13 includes PRs, include new citizens. So we asked the AI. So actually of the 13, the whole 100%, 400,000, what percentage went to native-born Singaporean? Just make a guess.
Very high. Like as in like AI and
Okay lah, never mind lah. Yeah. Okay. 3. So in my view, this is one of the most challenging aspects of the future for us today. You raise your hand because you want to have a number, or you want to ask me a question, or you're not happy, you want to...
I just wanted to clarify something. Would like to make it.
I'm sorry?
I just wanted to clarify something about the statistic, like please, for the...
I'm sorry, I don't understand a single word you said. Can you just speak slowly?
You wanted to clarify something, but you will wait when it comes to Q&A.
But then why did you raise your hand? Okay, never mind.
You got very excited.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's good, yeah, because most Singaporeans, as you saw, have no emotion, Yeah. Okay, I know I shouldn't say this, but Prabhu told me this joke, and it was so funny, I have to share it with you. Okay, it's so funny. There's no way you can stop the video for 1 minute, right? But never mind lah. A joke is a joke, okay? Somebody said, there was no sexual relationship, and there was no intention to have sexual relationship. So my good friend said, have sex, no relationship, or he like to have relationship, no sex. So it's no sexual relationship, right? Clever, right? Huh. Anyway, my friend, the English very powerful one, but I don't know. To me, it was very funny. If you think what I just told you is not challenging enough, hey, AI haven't come in full force yet, you know. The advent of AI haven't arrived, and the AI is estimating 3% of the 400,000 job growth in the last 4.1 to native born Singaporeans. When the AI tsunami comes, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, give you another statistic. In the last 24 years, associate professionals and technicians, about 500,000 residents, had real income growth of 0.2% per annum in the last 24 years up till June 2025. 0.2% real income growth a year for the last 24 years, associate professionals and technicians. So can you imagine, 24 years ago, you were earning $2,000. How much is 0.2% of 2,000? $4. Okay? So every year you had a $4 real increase in income. You think cost of living increase, everybody is complaining. Wait till you are in this group. Of course, these are the median statistics, right? Associate professionals and technicians. In my view, this is probably the most challenged. These are typically the polytechnics, the ITEs. They are the sandwich group between the managers, the professionals, and then they are the associate professional and technicians. Below them are all the non-PMETs, the service workers, the cleaners, the admins, and so on. Right? This is what I call the sandwich group. So job growth number, very bad, right? Income number. Of course, I cited the worst one. The other groups are like 0.6 or 0.8, whatever. But I think it's very sad, right? Do you think it's very sad? Well, I'm going to end. I just published a book. Can the Singapore economic model still work into the future? Challenges, choices, and opportunities in an age of AI, aging, and uncertainty. Available at Amazon.com. I used to give my e-books away free, Then the distributor not happy. So I put $1, still not happy. So now I have to put $5. For $5, I think I get something like $2 royalty or something. Okay? So, if you can't sleep, okay, buy this ebook. I guarantee you, within 15 minutes, you'll be asleep. If not, I give you a money back guarantee. But only on my royalty, not on the full price. Okay? Thank you very much. And I think we can now take some questions, comments, suggestions. You're not happy what I said, please attack me. But don't sue me for defamation. Okay, questions please. Yes, the oh gosh lady, yes.
Can I ask, right, I know the super category is such a big issue for decades now already. It's been going down.
Mic for you. Hey, can you try to speak a bit slower? At 72, the speed is a bit different. You look like you're about 16, are you?
What? 16. Oh, I'm 26.
Earlier I got one number right, that's very good. Yes, your question please.
Okay, so I know the total fertility rate, the concern of it dropping has been this issue, I don't know how long it has been, but I think probably decades by now. And I'm really confused why our government is still not making the necessary changes, and why are we still pulling like cheaper labor and giving citizenship to like foreigners to supplement our shrinking local born workforce. Like it's causing a lot of tension to a lot of people, because it feels like, oh, the foreigners are taking my rice bowl, and then they are also like the population white paper, people are also like concerned, like, oh, there's overcrowding, and how come the government is so reluctant to do anything like that would actually help the situation, like by making the cost of living like more bearable for young families? Or I just don't get it. To me it seems very strange. The solutions are there. We have the money. But then we're not doing anything differently. It's very weird.
Oh, I agree absolutely with you. Oh gosh, that's a very good question. But you asked the wrong person. I'm not MP or minister, let me try to answer your question this way. You're right. We have tons of money. There are a lot of policies that we can tweak, right, and make things better, reduce especially the stress levels that you are. I didn't cite one statistics for you. In a survey, 2 out of 5 young people have considered self-harm, and that is very, very bad. So I absolutely agree with you. Great question. I don't have the answer for you. Next time you see your MP, you ask him, okay? But it's interesting when you ask this. I cited the job growth statistics for you, right? 2 days ago, there was a motion in Parliament, long debate, an economy of the future for all Singaporeans. Was any of the statistics that I cited quoted in Parliament? I don't know. So many of you shaking your heads. You actually follow every word they say. Okay, anyway, what you say is true. We need to raise the issues in Parliament, right? I mean, I hope, as one of my friends always say, hey, why no MPs ask? Yeah, I hope someone will ask, right? Some of the statistics that I've shown you. I do apologize. I really have no answer for you, but I think you have very succinctly stated the frustrations of many young people today. You go social media, you see all these posts. Oh, I applied 500 jobs, I went 10 interviews, there's still no job after 6 months. Of course, look at the job growth statistics. Let me give you one more statistic before I take the next question. The fresh graduate data on those who are able to get permanent full-time jobs has been dropping. The one in the polytechnics is just over 50% now. It's the lowest in the history of Singapore. What this means is only about 1 in 2 polytechnic graduates are able to get a permanent full-time job. By the way, you always see the news, oh, Singapore unemployment rate 2%, one of the lowest in the world.
They gave the statistic. If you're not actively looking for a job within like 2 months, they don't count you in the pool. I think. And there are a lot of other, if you see how they measure it, it's very strange, because other countries also measure their unemployment rate very honestly compared to Singapore.
The function head, can I suggest you invite the lady to your next speaker, because I think, she knows this better than I do. Okay? But I want to give you the definition of being employed in Singapore. 1 hour in the reference week for work or profit. So in the reference week means the week they collect the data. So in that whole week, if you work 1 hour in a job, or you are self-employed, you work 1 hour, you are employed by definition. But there's nothing wrong. This is the ILO definition for employment. But in many countries today, they have, how should I say, alternative, measures, right? Because you keep following this one, then you hardly find any people who are unemployed, right? And of course, if you have given up looking for a job, you also don't count, you fall out of the, statistics. Thank you very much. What is your name, please, so I can make sure they invite you to be the next speaker. Okay, you had a question, sir. Yeah.
I think perhaps we have been looking at all these problems by looking in the wrong direction. I think the problems are just symptoms. Another way to look at it may be that we are not alone having all these problems. Everybody is, right? And if I may characterize it, it's an essential problem between capital and labor. Going back to maybe the past 80 years, the entire global share of income due to labor or accrued to labor versus capital is just going in one direction. Capital is getting more and more of the income. And in that sense, labor is just not important anymore. We don't have enough people, get a foreigner, it doesn't matter. As long as the profit still goes to the capital, nobody cares about it. We don't have enough babies, fine. You work long hours, fine. But as long as the capital is there, then whatever we can do to make the fertility go up, what we can do to make people happy in the world, maybe just wouldn't make a difference, I think. So if we approach it from that perspective, because you are a statistician, I'm sure you have come across the statistics, and this is not Singapore. It's not the US, it's the entire world. Now, barring the exception of those countries that go from low income to high income, where you have real productivity gains, people's life have gotten better, whether it's Singapore back in the 70s, China today, accepting those, the moment you hit a certain stage, 0.2% productivity growth every year, I guess that's the best you can hope for, because all the return is not going to labor, capital. Because I'm sure if you look at how much those rich people are getting richer, the word is not rich people getting richer. People who have capital getting more wealth from that. How do we approach it? The last time this changed, of course, was World War II, right? You have such a big upheaval of society that we can have that change. But how do we get there again?
Thank you very much for the question. My answer is this. One way of looking at, as you put it, the global trend and the historical trend is to do what we simply call comparative analysis. You ask yourself, which country has the most percentage of foreign workers in the world today? Dubai. Okay? It's like 80% are foreigners. So for us, even if you count the foreigners and the PRs and the new citizens, we probably, about half the population, half the workforce. So, isn't Dubai much worse off? I mean, if you're a citizen in Dubai, you must be jumping up and down, right? But here's the critical difference, I think. If you have been to Dubai and you talk to citizens, they're all very happy. Because the capital, the efficiency, the productivity, the revenue derived by the state is heavily utilized to ensure that citizens, have very good, balanced lives. So to me, that is the difference. So at the end of the day, the state has to figure out, oh yeah, sure, right? I want economic growth, so I need to encourage, women to work. Therefore, I will discriminate, in terms of progression tax benefits. I want the economy to grow, and then, what this shows you, in a way, is that 400,000 job growth. How come only 3% the AI estimate went to native Singaporeans? It could mean that the jobs that we are, growing are a lot of jobs that Singaporeans don't want to do. A lot of jobs that Singaporeans do not have the education, skills, or experience to do. So I agree with you. What choice do you have? Yes, you have a choice. You can, with your more than 2.28 trillion of reserves, with your 15.1 billion surplus last year, you don't have to increase your GST. Then your cost of living won't go up. You see, you don't need policies that make life worse off for ordinary people. I mean, I hope there's an indirect answer. Oh, the gentleman who raised his hand in red, I forgot about you, please.
Like probably related to the earlier question is about like narrative or the way of looking at things. Because I mean, if you look at like Singaporean workforce.
Slowly, slow down. Okay, yeah.
Yes, slowly. I think roughly like more than a million workers are migrant workers or domestic helpers. As far as I know, the salary for migrant workers has been like $18 per day for generations now, each generation. So if you account for like inflation and things like which is actually going down. So I wonder like this is sort of like which is obviously narrative all across the world, like equal citizens versus foreigners, and that's where the competition is. That's a limited view of like what's happening at a global scale, which is really sort of like the earlier question of like capital versus labor. That should be the question. Sure, I repeat the earlier it makes sense. So I think that was my question. Like basically, is there a different way of looking at what's happening rather than sort of? And I also wanted to clarify the second statistic. So when we say 400,000 new jobs and very small fraction is going to Singaporeans, are we sort of?
Excuse me, that's not new jobs, that's job growth.
Job growth.
Yeah,
right?
it's a difference between job creation, new jobs. This is job growth. Job
Right.
growth means the total 4.5 years ago compared to the total today.
Right.
It's a different story from job creation. I just want to.
Sure. Okay, so basically, if I'm a Singaporean and I had a job before, and then I change a job, I wouldn't be counted in that statistic of 3%, right? And so if like the population is already sort of like, at least believing the official statistic, only 2% unemployment, then there is very little room anyways to absorb sort of this job growth. So I wonder if that's also like a limited way of looking at where the new job growth is going or, where the economic development is going. And sort of again, like the main question being this dichotomy between citizens and foreigners. Is there a different way of sort of perceiving things?
Your question reminds me of one thing I did not say. If you think the job situation for Singaporeans, as some of the statistics tell you, quite sad, no? The one for some of the foreigners is even worse. I think you cited right. People getting $18 a day. Okay. We have come across so many cases. Foreigners pay, say, $8,000 to the whatever agent they have from the home country. They come here to work. They were told that, this is your benefit, this is your pay. And as you read the news very often, that is not the case. And they are stuck in a limbo. They can't go back. And they stay here, the expectation has gone up in smoke. Okay, so there's a great deal that, in terms of policy, that we can do to mitigate some of the problems that we have in terms of labor force, not just for Singaporeans or PRs, but I tell you something very funny. I was speaking in Malaysia 2 weeks ago. I mentioned 40% of Singaporean men marry foreign women, right? Where do you think most of the foreign women come from?
Malaysia.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is something most people don't know. But, okay, I don't know whether it's still the case today, but when I was a radio talk show host many years ago, I did one story on Singaporean men marrying foreign women. And at that time, I discovered that you are a Singaporean man, you marry a foreign woman, your biggest problem may be getting a passport to stay in Singapore. I have people who call my radio show and say, hey, Lao Liang, oh, I applied 45 times already. My wife still cannot come and stay with me. My children also is stuck in that country. So I did some research, and at that time, it may not be still the case today, but many years ago, there are only two places in the world where if you marry a foreign woman, Singaporean, almost guaranteed that she will get a pass to stay. Which were these two, or maybe are these two countries still? Anybody know? Vietnam and Hainan Island. Very strange, right? You know, you go to all these marriage agencies, you pay like 10,000, you go to Vietnam for 1 week, then can come back with your wife, right? Now, why only Vietnam? Because they know the chances of getting approval is almost 100%. Now, why did we decide that Vietnamese women or women from Hainan only are better than African women or European women or Philippine women? I have no idea. Whether this is still the policy, I don't know. But many years ago, when I did this on my show, this was the research that I discovered. Okay. Next.
For people who can blend into Singapore society and not raise so much concerns about immigrants taking us over. So I think Vietnamese, because they look very similar to Chinese, that's why and also because they are lower income than Singaporeans, it's easier for Singaporean men to get a Vietnamese wife than if you get some high flyer from Europe or something.
Well, she talked like all my male friends, No wonder. I'll tell you a very interesting story. We do financial counseling. This is one of the strangest cases I have come across. 20 years of pro bono financial counseling. A Singaporean man married a Vietnamese girl. And then, after she got her PR or something, she took a flight to Los Angeles and never came back. And then this guy who came for counseling had a huge problem because his HDB flat was in two names. He couldn't sell the flat. He couldn't rent out the flat because you need two persons to sign. So he went to practically see MP, go to NGO, go to ministry. Ask the whole world how to solve my problem. Nobody can help him. Anyway, it had a good ending. When we do pro bono financial counseling, we try not to write about the cases that come to us. But for those cases where we totally lost, 100% cannot help, we ask the guy, okay, we write your story, we don't put your real name. So we wrote this story. You know what happened? Somebody contacted him and said, oh, we managed to find your wife in Los Angeles. And you go to this website in California, you pay $35 or something. Your wife does not object to, whatever. And so they allow him to sell his CTV flat or rent it out. When we do financial counseling, there are so many stories of what I call the human spirit of people helping people. I had one case. This guy was 55. Then his two-room flat came. But he didn't have money to pay because his CPF was locked up in his retirement account. This is the old days. Nowadays, you can tell CPF that I want to reserve this for my house. In the good old days, don't have. So he was stuck. House come, got CPF, cannot use. So again, this is one of those stories where hopeless one, we wrote about it. Oh, one young man came and gave him $25,000 to pay the whatever he need to pay, and told him, you can take your own sweet time to pay me back. But eventually he paid, by installment over a few years. So I think, as many of the questions have indicated, we have so many so many problems, we different solutions, we can debate and the cows come home. But at the end of the day, people helping people is in a way a very good solution. You know how many people eat free food a day in Singapore? Yes, you know? How many people eat free food a day in Singapore?
Oh, I know, I don't.
Then why do you raise your hand?
He's asking how you get free food.
You want free food, is it? Okay, the last time it was reported is 55,000. How many households get free groceries every month? The last time reported I saw is about 100,000 households. So there are a lot of people helping a lot of people. Okay, and like I said just a few minutes ago, you can change policies, you can, have schemes, you can do all this. At the end of the day, still you need people helping people. Any more questions? Yes.
Yes.
Mic for you, microphone.
Who needs a mic?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Leong. I think from your sharing, I learned quite a bit about how the Singapore economy works. And since the title of your talk is Changing Worlds, so I'd like to know from your opinion, other than your mention of how AI might change the world, what other trends in terms of futures thinking do you think would impact maybe the world or Singapore in particular? For example, I read this statistic that if everyone lives like a Singaporean, we will need 6 to 8 planets, which means that in one other statistic, which talks about the global overshoot day, that Singaporeans consume so much resources that will run out by sometime in February. That means within 2 months of calendar year. Yeah, so that being the case, this alludes to the sustainability of Singapore in the sense that we use resources outside of Singapore. That's one perspective. Yeah, maybe I'd like to have your views on this. Thank you.
Firstly, this changing world is not done by me. It's Function 8's title, okay? Anyway, it's the same title for every talk. So, right? So don't ask me how come, you talk about changing the world, then you will never address this. But let me try to answer your question this way. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. Okay? And I think perhaps one way of approaching it is to go boldly where no man has gone before. And this, I have another talk, by the way, 3-hour one on innovation. And this is where Singapore stands out among all the countries in the world. It's not all the rankings that I show you. We are the best in innovation in history. I cite you some examples. One year there was a recession. Most of you were not born yet, so you don't know what recession, but what is a recession? So they asked the companies, particularly the foreign ones, how can we help you? They said, your pension contribution rate costs a lot of money, Can you do something? We will reduce the CPF contribution rate from 50 to 30%. No country can or has ever done that. But this is why Singapore is what it is today. Because we consistently show the world that we bend backwards to make Singapore the best place to do business. Best place to visit also. One year, a Japanese tourist was cheated by a merchant. SIA flew the guy back on business class to testify in court. The best advertisement in the world. So, to answer your question, go boldly where no man has gone before. It's estimated that 30% of the jobs will be gone thanks to AI. Maybe another 10% will be adversely affected. So, no amount of rhetoric. What do I mean by rhetoric? is, I mean, you read the news, oh, don't worry, there will still be job growth. Even with AI, we will reskill, we will, okay. But in my view, it's going to be bad in the next few years. But I think the future will be very bright because if the state is not afraid to go boldly where no man has gone before, given our vast hoard of resources, okay, right, we can actually ensure that no one will be stressed because they lost their job because AI. And I'm talking about like what they tried out in Sweden is called universal income, right? Because, going forward, you have so many people losing their jobs, getting pay cut because of AI. Unless you have some form of universal income, there will be people jumping off the HDB every other day. By the way, we have one of the highest suicide rates in the world, lowest birth rates in the world. And you might have noticed that when you come back to Singapore by bus, poor people like me take bus to GP, right? You come back, what is the first poster that you see to welcome you? It's a molest poster. So my foreign friends say, hey, a lot of molest, you see. How come your welcome sign is the molest picture? Then every time I take the MRT, they keep changing the poster, also molest one. Anyway, somebody told me, said, yeah, a lot of molest cases, okay? So, I think it's stress, right? Stress leads people to do all kinds of strange things, okay? So, simple answer, if we are bold enough, we have the resources. We have 2.28 trillion in the reserves. And this just domestic GIC and offshore, not counting the other state assets. We have 15.6 billion. Hello. You get your CDC voucher, you get what. You add everything together, not even 2 billion. And last year we had 15.6 billion.
May I suggest a counterfactual to that, if possible? And that would be, it reminds me of the days where we were under the Japanese occupation. So, for whatever global conditions that happens, just like the blockade for Qatar, Qatar was similarly wealthy, but when they were blockaded by their neighbors, they couldn't get any food. So my point is that with the poly crisis that could be approaching, whether it's climate crisis, food shortages potentially with El Nino, no matter how much money we have everywhere else, you can't eat money. You can't eat gold. You can't eat your reserves because we are importing 90% of our food. So would you have a comment on that? Thank you.
I don't have a comment on that, but it makes me think of something else. Singapore is very lucky, Thanks to the Iran war, a lot of things that would have gone to the Middle East are coming to Singapore. Accident. You know what's the best accident that happened, in my opinion? The best accident we had was many years ago when the Philippines government sued in the Singapore court to get back the Marcos family's corrupt money. The court ruled in favor of the Marcos family. And that was the best advertisement. Every rich person in the world came to Singapore because it's the safest place, thanks to that. So sometimes it's luck.
Are we at the top for money laundering?
It's recorded.
Are we the top for money laundering in the world? I don't know. Okay, but I tell you a joke. Before this joke, you mentioned Japan, right? I must confess, the greatest sin in my life was in 2010 when I was invited by the Public-Private Association of Japan to go to Tokyo to speak, one-man conference, 8 media interviews a day, to lobby the parliament, the people and the media to change the law to allow casinos in Japan. That was my greatest sin. But life is such, right? I happened to speak at MBS first conference, and I was talking about how to mitigate the social ills of casinos. And so the president of the PPA in Japan was there and said, "Wow, I must bring you because you can talk to the media and talk to the parliamentary lobby, the diet." But anyway, they have changed the law. The biggest casino in the world is now being built in Osaka. My greatest sin. Yes, you had a question, the gentleman in green.
I think we may have to draw to a close, but I see two hands, so maybe we finish with two more questions. Okay?
When Solang says whatever, you just say, okay. Right? Because when I contributed a chapter to her book called The Ridiculous, this lady, everything she says, you just say, okay, don't argue with her. Okay? That's a compliment, okay? Yes. Hey, I remember you. You're the guy, the last time I came to talk, many years ago, brought me to eat and gave me a lift. Was it you? No? Huh? The other one?
No, not the one.
Oh, okay. But you look like him, eh?
You'll be a pleasure to take you to eat sometime. Anyway, I just want to have a little point to support what the gentleman who talked about capital and labor. Just one point, and that is a statistic. The statistic that supports you is that in Singapore, the labor share of GDP is only about 40%. It's one of the lowest. And yes, it has been coming down worldwide. Even the US and Europe, where it was 50-60%, it has been gradually coming down. But the one in Singapore is absolutely rock bottom. It's just bloody ridiculous. And people can keep on shouting that this is a very prosperous country. And talking about prosperity, I'm quite disappointed actually at some of your numbers up there. You seem to be suggesting that we are very wealthy, the government's very wealthy, it's a lot of number, the health part of it, 20% subsidy for C-class and all that. But we must not forget that the prices here of healthcare is so bloody high. They're giving 20%, 80% subsidy is really not a problem. And I think we must focus on the cost of living, the cost of healthcare, the cost of a lot of things in Singapore which are crippling everyone here. And this is a point maybe to F8, since you mentioned F8 a number of times. Maybe we should have somebody here to talk to us about comparing the healthcare cost between Singapore and Hong Kong, Singapore and Taiwan. Because I think those countries are doing fabulously well. All right? Even though they are not as but they have been able to disperse their money and make the cost of living there a lot less severe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The beds per capita in Hong Kong is about 2 times that of Singapore. The beds per capita in Taiwan is about 3 times. In Hong Kong, if you go to public health care, it's dirt cheap. I think it's like 100 Hong Kong dollars, which is about maybe 1650 or 17 Singapore dollars. But I always like to compare with Malaysia because they are the closest to us. By the way, the Taiwanese healthcare system is arguably rated as even better than Singapore one. Right? Most people say theirs is the best. But Malaysia, if you go to a public hospital, you go to a public like our polyclinic, 1 ringgit, 2 ringgit. If you go to a public hospital, it's like 100 ringgit a day. And of course, you can do the same for public housing, whatever. Okay, so I absolutely agree with you. What for I give you a 80% subsidy when my 100% is 5 times the Malaysian one? 1 year very funny. we were building one new hospital, I forgot what's the name. Cost 500 million, no. Then I asked the Malaysians, similar size hospital built in Malaysia cost how much? 50 million. Your car is 6 times more expensive than the same car in Malaysia. So every time my friend go to JB, I say, hey, Babu, can you buy the tapioca chip for me? Can you buy, everything, buy everything. Because everything is at least half price cheaper. That's why my very good friend Tan Kin Lian, is enjoying himself. Every week go to JB, I say, most of you have seen his blog, right? Oh, the guy is living it up. I wish when I'm his age, I'm 72, I think he's about 77 or 78. I wish by his age I can be like him, Go JB, live in Forest City, right? Today he's giving free Wagyu beef or what to anyone who eats with him, right? That's the life. Okay. Okay, one last question. You said there was another hand, yeah.
Hi, Mr. Leong. I was reading a bit on Google about your history, and I understand that you are a semi-politician and you stood for elections on one of the recent elections. So my question here is that in part of the other gentleman's comment that a lot of the economy, as in the so-called the GDP contribution of capital, is higher than the labor contribution. In Singapore, Mr. Kenneth said that it is 40%. So in this light, my belief is that it's some sort of an aristocratic situation, like, I don't know, maybe something like Marx or something like in old France before the revolution, whereby the rich were very rich and the poor were, not hurt at all. They had no agency. So seems to be somewhat the same as America. Like Donald Trump is not a popular guy in the first election. Hillary was more popular than him, but through some kind of a weird situation, very antique electoral college system, Donald Trump came in and now he's like in some kind of roaring success, starting wars all over. So it's quite a strange situation that we are in. So in your political hat, my belief is that the problem with people is that they do not realize, or they just do not have the agency to speak for themselves. And even if you go into UBI, it's actually already practiced in Singapore, like the GST vouchers, whereby every household has that one. And unless they're homeless, which I suppose they're given in some other way, you already have a UBI, although a quite minuscule amount. So in your political hat, how are you going to speak like in the economics of the GRC system, whereby it's not proportional, it's something worse than first past the post? And that, if I'm not mistaken, there are many parties who receive votes, but they're not even in parliament. I think that amounts to at least 20%. So in this light where there is a so-called disenfranchisement of people, they are not represented as a political or economist, how do you think that they can be represented? Like, do the economics of representation of the GRC system really work? And if so, is it just UBI or giving something more than UBI? Which is the grace of agency. Thank you.
You keep saying my political hat. If you put the right search words into Google, I've been quoted in the media as saying, enter politics over my dead body. Okay? So, I was sued for defamation in December 2018. I knew I had to fight. And to fight, you need soldiers. What is the easiest way to get a lot of soldiers? Join a political party. Overnight, you have a few hundred soldiers. Right? That's why I became an accidental politician for only one election. And that's it. Because I said so many times, enter politics over my dead body. But in life, sometimes you must be careful what you say. Because I was literally forced into politics. Otherwise, how do you think the people managed to crowdfund more than $700,000? You need a lot of soldiers. I'm going to tell you a secret to crowdfunding. A lot of people ask me, hey, wow, you created history, you know? What is the magic formula? The magic formula is so simple. By the time my case went to trial in 2020, I think it was November, it's almost 2 years already since I was first sued. So every day, I try to meet one person face to face to thank that person personally for his support and encouragement. That is the secret. Because by the time the damages and costs of $262,000 was known, I believe there must have been hundreds of people running all the place collecting money. Not that I asked them to do it, because I met them personally and I thanked them for the support and encouragement. So, of that $700,000, it's about 2,000 over money transfers. But many people said they were collecting money from other people. We estimate maybe about 20,000 people gave money, average about $20 per person. That's why I keep saying, at the end of the day, people helping people is important. Thank you, everyone. I thoroughly enjoyed myself today, and I look forward to the roti prata that Teo Sudang messaged me on my way here. When you finish, we go opposite roti prata can. I haven't eaten dinner yet. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.